We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97.
Are you doing this to help people, or are you doing this to make money, or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Prime Time, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/.
Tonight on Primetime, NBA games postponed for another night after Bucks players took a stand against police brutality and racism, refusing to play. Now athletes from different teams, different leagues, different sports have joined in solidarity.
A few weeks after schools sent kids back into the classroom, we're getting a closer look at how COVID-19 now is impacting children around the state.
11 Alive News Primetime on the ATL starts now.
This was the most powerful storm to ever make landfall in Louisiana. Today it's about saving lives, moving people out of their homes if their homes are no longer safe and habitable.
When you consider the magnitude of the damage that could have occurred here, we did dodge a bullet.
More than 500,000 people in Louisiana and Texas still without power hours after the storm made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane.
We've got some drone video right now, and it's showing heavy flooding in Lake Charles. That's in Louisiana, as you know. Despite the destruction, officials in both states say it could have been a lot worse, as we just heard from Texas's governor. So far, at least 4 people have been reported dead in Louisiana, including a 14-year-old girl. So more video now from Lake Charles, the city that took a direct hit from the hurricane as it moved onshore overnight. The winds destroying buildings, knocking down power lines, snapping poles and trees. Debris piles growing in the city. People now trying to clean up and get on with their lives again. In Louisiana, the National Guard is out assessing the damage and checking for people who need to be rescued.
As the storm moves inland, it will be impacting what we see here over the weekend. Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb tracking those upcoming changes for us tonight.
Yeah, and you know, even though this storm has moved inland, it's made landfall, we can't ignore it because it is still going to move up to the north and then to the east, and on that track we'll have some impacts. Now, some areas, especially over in Alabama, saw some of the outer bands today with some strong storms, and then we're watching some of these storms that are right on the Alabama and Georgia line. They had a lot of lightning with them earlier. Here in Atlanta, we're fine. We just had a couple little spotty isolated showers earlier, but I want you to see these over here. A lot of lightning with these in parts of Randolph County near Wedowee and Roanoke. It just kind of blew up with lightning, but now as it's crossing over the line into West Georgia, it is falling apart. Still just a little bit of lightning with that really close to the Randolph and the Cleburne line. And then you see some other showers here. These were more intense in Alabama earlier, all part of an outer band. You can kind of see that in Alabama that they're all falling apart. But here's the storm. It is still a tropical storm. We just got the 8 p.m. advisory in, and winds are down a little bit. It's not as strong as it was, and we expect it to become a tropical depression a little bit later on tonight, but still it's causing bad weather. You can see all the rain, and then in this band right here, we not only have a tornado watch, but then multiple tornado warnings along with that as well. So here's what's happening with that track. It's going to continue to move up toward the north and then take a turn to the east. We do think it'll be downgraded to a tropical depression later on tonight. And then on Saturday, early in the morning, a remnant low. So here it is Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, and then Saturday afternoon over Virginia. So when it's on this path right here, it is going to send up a lot of Gulf moisture our way still, increasing our rain chances and increasing the risk for some breezes and even the potential for storms. We'll break that down for you coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Chris, thank you. A lot of damage out there, a lot of people who will need help. 11 Alive's Tracy McPeer show says how some Georgia companies are stepping up to help victims from the storm.
As Hurricane Laura made landfall on the Gulf Coast, many here in Atlanta were gearing up to help, like Georgia Power, who sent more than 100 crew members to Louisiana.
So we had crews from Macon, Athens, and Rome that got in their line trucks. They headed that way this morning.
They will stage in Baton Rouge until Laura passes through. Allison Gregory says they also sent equipment and trucks.
More than 20 of these bucket trucks are there now, with another 30 on standby. These trucks will be used to assess the damage, repair power lines, and in some cases, replace the power lines altogether.
The poles of snap wires have come completely down. And those are going to have to be replaced.
The Home Depot Foundation is also ready to help, activating their virtual command center in Atlanta and sending disaster kits for hygiene and cleaning.
We have about 500 to 1,000 kids that are sitting in Louisiana right now, and we have about 1,500 kids that are sitting in Florida, ready to move out.
Son Walker says they've also committed equipment and supplies to their partners throughout the area most likely to be hard hit.
Anything around cleaning supplies, shovels, rakes, scouring pads. You're looking at things like saws, you're looking at water, all those different types of things that you would need in a disaster response.
The Red Cross is also doing their part. Right now, there are 16 Georgia volunteers down there, with another 117 on standby. Their main roles will be health services and providing shelter.
We have the latest updates from the damage left behind from the storm, everything else that we're learning on 11alive.com. You can also get those alerts sent straight to your phone by downloading the 11 Alive app.
It's been a very busy 24 hours in sports. The NBA beginning its protest in the name of social justice that expanded beyond their league. Here's the very latest. The league says it hopes to resume the playoffs as soon as tomorrow or at the latest on Saturday. Today's games have been postponed. Players had a meeting last night and this morning. NBA officials and governors also getting together. The league said that there will be more meetings that will include members and players, and Michael Jordan, who is the league's labor committee chairman. Today, more teams outside of the NBA postponed games and practices. The WNBA postponed all of yesterday and today's games. Atlanta United decided not to play against Miami last night, instead showing a sign of unity, then walking off the field. Today we're hearing from local athletes.
Before we were athletes, we are humans that need to acknowledge each other and support each other. And we felt like in that moment, it was bigger, like I said, than our two locker rooms.
Protesting is definitely one of the biggest impacts. It's one of the biggest things you can do. And then right after that, you got to have something that comes right after it to not only continue the awareness aspect of it, but to spark, okay, where do we go? What's the direction after this?
Okay, ahead on Prime Time, we will talk to the head coach of the Hawks about how he would have responded if his team was in Orlando this week.
Tonight, Alpharetta police have released dash and body camera footage from the night an officer was dragged by a vehicle during a traffic stop.
Can you hop out the car for me? Sir, I'm asking you to step out of the car. Mr. Pereira? Mr. Pereira, stop the car! Stop the car!
Police Police say 22-year-old Dante Pereira was on his way to a birthday party before being pulled over on Mansell Road. During that traffic stop, Pereira took off, dragging the police officer. Sometime later, police say he took his own life. That officer is okay. The GBI has been called in to help with the investigation. A week ago, nearly 2,000 people lost their homes as a massive fire burned through a Buckhead area apartment complex. Our Joe Hinkie talked with residents who say they want to go back inside, see if they can save anything, but they're still being kept out.
From personal belongings to work from home items they were using during the pandemic, residents I talked with today say they just want to be allowed back into their old units to see what might be salvageable, but so far they have not been able to get clear answers of when that might be allowed. A fence, no trespassing signs, and boarded up windows now surround the Havana on Main apartments next to Marta's Lindbergh station. Massive flames burned through the attic and fourth floor, causing part of the top floor to collapse last week. The Atlanta Fire Department previously told 11 Alive the entire building appeared to be a loss, with the units that did not burn having extensive smoke and water damage. Renters, though, tell 11 Alive Havana's management has not given any details of if or when they can go back inside to see what they can recover. One resident talked with 11 Alive today by phone.
We want to and have asked to be allowed to get into those units that have not been damaged by fire.
The fire did not reach the first or second floors, giving some residents hope that they did not lose everything.
The pathways, we understand, are accessible, and we just want to be able to get in to get our things. Many of us worked from home, and so we have computer equipment that belong to our employers.
Late this afternoon, Havana on Main's management released a statement reading in part, "We are working with engineers and recovery contractors to assess the integrity of the remaining structure to determine what can be safely accessed and recovered. We will continue to work closely with our residents and keep them updated as we have more information." An Atlanta fire spokesman previously expressed concerns more of the building could collapse. Multiple residents 11 Alive talked with today said they are willing to assume the risk.
If there's a problem with letting us in, they can allow us to sign waivers. So to absolve them from any liability of injury to ourselves.
A building at Troy University in Alabama will be named after the late Congressman John Lewis. Bibb Graves Hall. He had been an Alabama governor and a member of the Ku Klux Klan, and now his name will be taken off the building in favor of Congressman Lewis, John Robert Lewis Hall, to honor the Troy native. Congressman Lewis died last month. Troy University was the site of the first of the multiple memorials for the congressman following his passing. A couple of months before Congressman Lewis's death, an Atlanta artist began working on a statue of the great man, and that monument is now nearing completion. Brittany Kleinpeter is our reporter here, and she spoke with the local artist who is behind this work of art.
I sent that picture to John Lewis, and he was absolutely thrilled.
Internationally recognized sculptor Gregory Johnson was commissioned earlier this year by the National Monument Foundation to begin work on a statue of the late Congressman John Lewis. Just a few months before Lewis's passing, Johnson was asked to send a picture of his design to the congressman.
In terms of timing and impactfulness in history, I think this is probably the most significantly timed opportunity in my life.
Johnson says the 7-foot, 800-pound statue has been a challenge.
I've got 100 pictures of the guy. If you can see, if I need an ear and a profile, if I need a chin, I need the front view of the ears.
The statue will be placed at Atlanta's Peace Park, also known as the Rodney Cook Senior Park in downtown Atlanta. The John Lewis statue will be one of 2 monuments on display when the park first opens this fall. A total of 18 statues will be installed at the park, including Andrew Young and Booker T. Washington. Johnson says that he is proud to be able to honor Lewis's legacy and philosophy.
We wanted him standing his ground, firmly put in place. The things John Lewis gave to society are never going to go away.
Johnson tells me that he'd invited John Lewis to come to his studio to see the statue once it was complete, but Lewis passed away only 4 days after he extended that invite.
With students going back to the classroom, we're getting more information, and also we are getting a closer look at how COVID-19 is impacting children. We'll break down the numbers coming up next.
And don't forget, as always, we are streaming right now on our 11 Alive YouTube channel. You can subscribe, join the conversation there in the community section. There's more 11 Alive news in primetime after this break.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are
The State Board of Education meeting about several different topics today. One of the biggest, virtual learning. Board members discussed their need to get more involved to verify that districts are handling virtual learning efficiently. Board members say they never saw virtual learning and COVID-19 in the state extending for this long. Now, there's no doubt that we have seen more cases of COVID-19 in our school-aged children since schools reopened. We are diving into the data, looking at Cherokee, Paulding, Polk, and Bartow counties, all school districts that opened with in-person classes the first week of August. The state won't tell us how many cases were reported each week if the number is less than 9. None of these counties had enough cases to report until late June. At that time, cases were likely tied to summer camp, play dates, or family vacations, but the number of new COVID-19 cases reported seems to increase as athletes return for practice. And you'll notice for Albert Bartow, cases in the county spiked to their highest levels the week after school started. The Metro's 3 largest counties, Fulton, Gwinnett, and Cobb, all decided to start the school year virtually. Even though school in these counties didn't start until mid to late August, it appears families staying home to get their students ready helped reduce the number of new infections. These counties have still reported some COVID-19 cases since they've allowed athletics to resume with students returning to campus for practice.
Personal space has taken on a new meaning and significance during the pandemic, as we all can concur. How much do people need to feel comfortable, whether it's new faces or old friends? A new local company called Safe Hands trying to make those interactions less stressful. Here's Caitlin Ross to show us what it is all about.
People know what to do in the grocery store now.
You see the queues, you see the lines on the floor, everyone's kind of doing the same thing.
But as people return to work, school, and houses of worship, David Burrell says they felt unsure about how to approach people.
They were confused about what to do. They're uncomfortable about how to interact with other people.
He's the CEO of WIC, a research firm that found people wanted more guidance about how close they could get to people and how to be respectful but still engage with them. That's where the idea for Safe Hands came in.
I feel comfortable in my actions because I know what you're expecting of me. And I feel comfortable being around you because I know you know kind of what I expect of you.
They designed wristbands, face masks, and badges, showing people exactly what level they're comfortable interacting at: green, blue, or orange. They tried green, yellow, and red at first, but he says people didn't like feeling like they were giving orders.
We didn't do red, yellow, green because this is a very complex issue. The communication's very complicated, and it's very personal.
People wearing green are signaling that they're comfortable in public. Blue means I'm okay, but I still want you to give me space. And orange is the highest level of care.
If you are personally at risk, but you still have to go to work, if your son has asthma and you're much more worried about contracting something and bringing it home because he is at risk.
He says this gives companies, schools, and houses of worship clear visual cues about what people feel comfortable with outside the guidance they're already following from the CDC.
Despite all that effort, there are still so many situations every day in every single environment where 6 feet, perfect sanitation, always having PPE, and whatever else it may be is just not happening.
They've already rolled it out at some businesses here in Metro Atlanta, and people report feeling a lot more confident in their day-to-day interactions because they know how to engage with people during a pandemic without getting into a long, drawn-out conversation about COVID-19.
Well, we had a pretty quiet day today. It was nice to have a break in the rain. There were just a few spotty showers that developed, and temperatures, they still warmed up into the lower 90s this afternoon. Right now, we're watching a couple of showers that are over on the west side. These were a lot more intense just over the line into Alabama and Randolph County, where we had a lot of lightning and heavy rain between Wedowee and Roanoke. Now that's moving into West Georgia, just some light showers in parts of Heard County, also moving into Carroll County. You see one right up here in Cleburne County, just south of I-20, where we've got a couple of moderate showers with that. And that's all part of one of the outer bands in association with Laura that caused some stronger storms earlier back in Alabama. In fact, you can kind of see that earlier today with all the thunder and lightning, but now it's all kind of falling apart. Another band developing from Mississippi, moving into western Alabama. And then here is the storm right now. Again, still a tropical storm, but maximum sustained winds are lower now. And we do think this is going to become a tropical depression later on tonight. But we still can't ignore it because it is a strong area of low pressure. Look at this band of rain prompting not only that tornado watch that is diminishing, but we have numerous 1, 2, 3. These polygons that you see right here, those are actual active tornado warnings. That's just to the west of the Memphis area. So we have to really watch those bands. Here's the track. We do think it'll become a tropical depression later tonight, maybe by the 11 o'clock advisory or either the 2 a.m. advisory, becoming a tropical depression. Then it takes that turn over toward the east. So it's still a tropical depression tomorrow afternoon, then a remnant low overnight Friday into Saturday, and then it moves quickly over toward Virginia by Saturday afternoon. So as it travels from here to here, that's when it's going to be pulling up a lot of that Gulf moisture, and we'll see rain moving our way and even the potential for some storms. Now, tomorrow's storm threat is mainly going to be to our west, over in parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and into Kentucky. We do see a marginal risk or level 1 of 5 risk coming into northwest Georgia. I think that'll be later in the day on Friday. And then on Saturday, earlier in the day, you see the green color indicating the marginal risk, level 1 of 5. Over North Georgia, Metro Atlanta, and even there on the south side as well. So that means there's a risk for some isolated stronger storms, with the main threats being frequent lightning, damaging winds. Isolated tornadoes is also a possibility, but I really think that risk is going to be on the low end. So tonight, we're watching any of those showers that are over on the west side that are falling apart. Then tomorrow morning, we start off with a good coverage of clouds around noontime, still dry, but it's going to be in the afternoon and especially the evening when we start seeing some of these scattered showers that'll be developing here. Some of those with heavy rain, and again, maybe some damaging winds with that. And then late Friday night and then early Saturday, this is when this main band is going to be moving in, and this is the part that has the potential for some strong thunderstorms with it. I really think that by noon, that heaviest part is going to be over into South Carolina. We'll just have a couple of lingering showers, and by afternoon Saturday, the second half of the day might actually turn out pretty well with some sunshine breaking through, no rain in the afternoon. But we're also going to be watching the winds with this. Here is a look at the strong wind in association with Laura. As it continues to move through Kentucky, I want you to notice on Friday, we see the blue color showing up here, meaning 10-mile-an-hour winds. And then on Saturday in the morning, especially along with that rain that comes in, the yellows indicating 10 to 20, maybe some spots with a little over 20-mile-an-hour winds before everything finally pushes out, the winds calm down, and the sunshine returns later in the afternoon on Saturday. So 88 degrees for a high on Friday with a 40% chance for showers. Then a 60% chance Saturday with that potential for a few storms around. And then we don't have anything that cleans out the air. We're still going to have tropical moisture in place with a 40% chance for showers Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, then down to a 30% chance on Friday with high temperatures in the upper 80s for the weekend and next week. More to come on Prime Time.
$7. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money, or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Prime Time, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice?
It is the final night of the RNC. President Trump will be speaking as 2 weeks of conventions finally come to an end. Joining me now, national columnist Ron Hart. Ron, earlier this week, Herschel Walker spoke at the RNC. And if you know Herschel, you know his political leanings. Your thoughts on his speech and the conventions in general. What's your take?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, I thought the Republican was young and energized. The Democrat convention was kind of a gerontocracy out there speaking a whole lot. Biden talked about, darkness, follow him into the light, darkness. But I get real nervous following a 78-year-old guy into the light. So it made the country nervous, I believe. So some of the young dynamic leaders of the Republican Party, I think, were very good last week. And Herschel Walker among them. Tim Scott as well over in South Carolina was really good.
Some other big political events happening worldwide right now. There are reports, many of them legitimate, which is saying something these days, that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is in a coma and his sister would take over. She allegedly is more ruthless than he. How does that change the dynamic of the world order and the Pacific shelf should he pass on to the big mountain in the sky?
Who's his sister? Kim Kardashian? Who's his sister? I'm not sure, but yeah, I think it'll be a mess. He's the only guy in the world who can win a Nobel Peace Prize by just dying. If he does die. I know he pulled this one time before, faking a coma or faking his death just to see he was loyal to him, and anyone turned on him, he killed him. So.
Vladimir Putin is a man who does not appreciate those who do not agree with him. In fact, his prime rival was sipping tea in an airport area and then collapsed and has been in a coma ever since.
Who knew? And what are the odds? Putin wins his election in landslides and his opponents die in landslides. It's kind of odd how that kind of happens over there. It's, in America, in Russia, you can't, make jokes about the president. And in America, we elect, jokes to our presidency. So it's a little different country. I like our side doing humor and everything. I like the idea of the First Amendment. Over there, not so much. So, but I hear Putin is really torn up about this guy dying. He's actually going to wear a shirt to the funeral, so he's not going to go bare-chested. I understand. I mean, this is my diplomatic contacts over there.
I'm sorry to be giving you a laugh on that one, but with that, we will exit stage left here. Ron Hart, we always enjoy having you with us. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority.
There are growing concerns that new guidance on COVID-19 testing from the CDC is politically motivated. The CDC now says people who don't have coronavirus symptoms don't need to be tested, even though they can carry and spread the virus. But now some doctors are pushing back. They want to see the science to explain why 6 months into this pandemic, the government is recommending fewer tests instead of more. Here's NBC's Ann Thompson.
New CDC guidelines that say people exposed to COVID with no symptoms no longer need to get tested brought a swift backlash from the medical community.
I think most public health officials believe that this is a bad change. We need to be testing people who are asymptomatic, not shying away from doing those tests.
The American Medical Association calling the change a recipe for community spread and more spikes in coronavirus, and new caution from the nation's leading infectious disease expert. In his statement, Dr. Anthony Fauci said he was under general anesthesia and in surgery the day the task force adopted the new guidelines. He recalls quickly reviewing them, but now, after reading them carefully, says he has some concern that the revised guidelines could be interpreted as lessening the importance of asymptomatic spread of virus in the community. Adding, without testing those who come in close contact with COVID but show no symptoms, asymptomatic spread to others could occur. The changes sparked suspicions of political interference. President Trump urged less testing earlier this summer.
Here's the bad part. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people, you're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
But the administration's testing czar, Admiral Brett Giroir, said there was no direction from the president or vice president on the new guidelines. As for the changes themselves, Admiral Giroir defended the move, saying tests should now be focused and strategically done, not for the sake of being tested. We're trying to do appropriate testing, he said, not less testing. A strategy Harvard's Dr. Ashish Shah questions.
Too often out of the CDC and out of the administration, we have seen guidelines that are not really designed to optimize health and safety of the American people, but really are just an admission that we don't have enough tests in the country.
Well, late today, Director Redfield offered a new statement saying anyone who has close contact with those who have or may have COVID-19 may consider testing, but there's been no change yet on the CDC website.
Damage assessments are just beginning across Louisiana and Texas after Hurricane Laura came ashore. Here's Chris Pallone of NBC with the very latest from Lafayette, Louisiana.
Daylight and a first look at the destruction left in Hurricane Laura's wake. In Lake Charles, Louisiana, some 30 miles from the coast. Roofs left in shambles, trees ripped from their roots, and neighborhoods underwater.
I'm just glad that we are all alive. That's it.
Power lines flung across roadways, a local TV station's tower in a crumpled heap on the ground. Roads flooded in Lafourche Parish. In Westlake, near Lake Charles, a massive inferno at BioLab, a chemical plant that makes chlorine products just after the storm blew through, sending plumes of smoke into the air. In the storm's path, it's a mess of mangled metal, splintered wood, and debris.
We have thousands and thousands of our fellow citizens whose lives are upside down because their businesses and/or their homes have been damaged.
After Hurricane Laura roared ashore overnight, a powerful Category 4 storm packing winds of 150 miles per hour, lashing Louisiana and southeast Texas for hours.
Windows broke out. Walls came in.
There's a roar like I've never heard before.
The governor of Texas touring the state's hardest hit areas, but says overall the state dodged a bullet.
Now, that of course doesn't help those whose homes have been hit, those whose businesses have been hit. And for those people, we want them to know that we are already working on the process of helping them rebuild.
That rebuilding just beginning across much of the battered region.
And we'll be watching any impacts from the remnants of Laura as it moves to the north and then it takes a turn over to the east. And over in Alabama, they saw one of the outer bands that came through today with some showers and some storms. A couple of those held together coming into western Georgia, but they've been falling apart here with just a few lighter showers into parts of Carroll County, or actually Haralson County, Carroll, also into Heard County. Some of that trying to make it into Coweta County. Really intense lightning earlier between Wedowee and Roanoke in Randolph County, Alabama, but now as it's crossing over the line into Georgia, it is all falling apart. And it was all part of a band that came through. In fact, as we put this into motion, you can see what's left of that over the past 4 hours. A lot of that thunder and lightning, but weakening. Still some of that holding together in Tennessee. Another one trying to develop in West Alabama. And then this is the main storm right here. This is Tropical Storm Laura, and it is weakening and will continue to show signs of weakening, most likely become a tropical depression later on. But these bands are still very strong. Tornado watch with that, even a couple of tornadoes, 3 tornado warnings with that band that is moving up toward the north, just to the west of the Memphis area. Now, is it too soon to talk about what's coming next? There are actually 2 potential tropical systems that we're watching, both of them way out into the Atlantic. This is one in the central Atlantic that has a 20 to 30% chance of development over the next 2 to 5 days. Another wave coming off of the coast of Africa, a 0% chance of developing over the next 2 days. That's why you see this line here. But then once it gets in this development zone here, it'll have about a 30% chance of development over the next 5 days. So we'll keep watching it. This is the time of year when things are more active. We have the statistical peak of hurricane season on September 10th. Stay with us. We'll talk more about that track of the remnants of Laura and any type of impacts that we could have here.
All right, Chris, thank you. Students returned to a Bartow County school today, one day after a political confrontation reportedly turned physical. A fight broke out between 2 groups of students at Cass High School Wednesday morning after one group brought Trump flags to the school and another group of students took offense. Bartow News and Emergencies posted this video on Facebook. We're told things eventually got physical. There were also pictures circulating of another group of students with a Biden flag, but it's not clear if they were involved in any sort of altercation. The school district later released a statement saying that it won't tolerate this type of behavior and that disciplinary action has been taken against all parties involved. The school's code of conduct bans students from expressing themselves in a manner that distracts from learning. We're told there were no incidents involving flags today, but the whole thing is causing a flurry of controversy online.
Coming up next, some perspective from the head coach of the Hawks as players in sports speak out against injustice, brutality from police departments, and racism. where he thinks the NBA is headed. That's coming up next.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
We're continuing to watch what's going on in sports right now, where the NBA is hoping to resume the playoffs as early as tomorrow and maybe as late as Saturday after players have protested. Hawks head coach Lloyd Pierce is an outspoken voice on league diversity, also on social justice. We spoke to him about the players' mindset as they try to figure out how they can advance the cause.
Players walked off the court, left the building, refused to play. A boycott began. Much of the sports night grew quiet. So where do we go from here?
I know the players are extremely committed to trying to advance to some areas of action. That's what I think the conversation will move towards now.
Atlanta Hawks head coach Lloyd Pierce is not in the NBA Orlando bubble, but if he had been, he knew what he would have done.
We are 100% supportive of what our players are committed to doing.
The Hawks head coach is one of the most outspoken voices in the league.
I don't think anyone's speaking as an athlete right now. I think everyone's speaking as a father, as a brother, as a son. My concern is what am I doing to participate in safety for my daughter and my wife? And the players in Orlando are separated from their families right now. And so they're trying to figure that out without being in proximity or close contact.
NBA players decided a boycott was a way to make their voices heard. Pierce supports them, but wants to find unity in how the league responds to social injustice.
I also know the strength of those guys being together and having these meetings and discussing these plans of actions of what they can do to engage the owners, engage the league, to engage each other. that happens because they're still playing and they're in Orlando. We want our players to play. They want to play. This isn't about this one event. This isn't about our one stance. This is about how do we change the policy.
Pierce applauded the league's reaction, but he hopes that players continue to play and to have their platform.
I want to encourage those guys to have resolve, to come together, have a plan, and be able to support each other while they're there.
We have just a few light showers south and west of Atlanta, part of that band that was a lot heavier in Alabama that had thunder and lightning and heavy rain with it. But this is all that's left right now. After the lightning over in Randolph County, when it moved over into Georgia, you can see just some of that light rain coming in through right along I-20 at the Alabama line into Haralson County, Carroll County, also to Heard County. Some of that coming into Coweta County. I'm going to take a look at that tower cam for you in just a second in Coweta County, but mainly looking dry. But just a little bit of light rain trying to come into that direction. And we had other showers that were stronger in Alabama, all part of that band that fell apart. As we widen out, you can see how that's kind of in relation to the actual storm that is over in Alabama. So it's almost like a pinwheel as it sits here and spins with a counterclockwise flow. And in that pinwheel, we see these bands that sometime develop. Another one in West Alabama. Here's one going through Mississippi. Part of this band right here, closer to the center of circulation, had severe weather with it. We still have part of a tornado watch and then a one tornado warning that is left over in that band that is just to the west of the Memphis area. Now, even though this storm made landfall, it's weakening, we think it's going to become a depression later on, we still can't ignore it because it is going to be spreading some rain and the potential for storms our way for Friday and Saturday. Here's that live look over in Coweta County. This is in Newnan, looking at the courthouse. Roads are still dry down there. Just a little bit of light rain in the southwestern part of the county that may make it into Newnan in just a little bit. So here's that downgrade. Right now a tropical storm, most likely going to be a depression a little bit later on. It may be downgraded at the 11 o'clock advisory. Winds right now are at 40 miles an hour. That is just at tropical storm strength. So the 11 o'clock advisory might go ahead and downgrade this to a depression. And then it continues moving as to a remnant low. This is overnight Friday into Saturday. That's north of Atlanta in Kentucky and then over into Virginia by Saturday afternoon. So when it travels from here through Kentucky over into Virginia, that route is going to continue pulling up a lot of moisture our way, and that's why we're going to see a better chance for rain on Saturday, late Friday into Saturday, and maybe even a storm risk for us too. We're in a marginal risk for some of those stronger storms. Tomorrow's storm risk is mainly where you see the yellow, the slight risk level 2 of 5, Alabama, Tennessee, parts of Kentucky, Mississippi, and into Arkansas as well. The marginal risk, which is level 1 of 5, does come into northwest Georgia. That's for Friday night, and then early Saturday, we have the green color here with that marginal risk over metro Atlanta and even down to the south side and in North Georgia. We can see some isolated storms with frequent lightning, damaging winds, and even the potential for some isolated tornadoes. Here you see that band, that's already falling apart. And then on a Friday morning, mostly cloudy skies. Lunchtime, still mostly cloudy skies. And then in the afternoon hours, we're going to see those scattered showers that are going to start redeveloping. And we'll see more of those bands coming in, especially late night Friday into early on Saturday. I think the main event is going to be early on Saturday with these bands moving through. That's where we can see some severe storms. And then we think by lunchtime, the main area of rain will be into South Carolina. We'll see this breaking up. And look at this. By Saturday afternoon and into the evening, clearing skies with a pretty nice second half of the day on Saturday. The problem is nothing comes in and cleans out or dries out our air. We're still going to have tropical moisture in place Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with the 40% chance for showers, and then down a little bit to a 30% chance on Thursday. Each day we'll see those high temperatures holding in the upper 80s.
Chris, thank you. Still ahead, even journalists have to ask what role they play in the movement for equality. One of our reporters shows us what it was like to be a black woman reporting on Black Lives Matter protests here in Atlanta.
We appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. on 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time.
When protests against police brutality broke out across the United States, journalists knew it would be one of the biggest stories we would cover in our lifetimes. 11 Alive's Hope Ford was in downtown Atlanta for all of it, trying to get to the root of what was causing unrest in our communities. Tonight, she explains what her role is in this renewed movement for racial equality.
I've been a journalist for 12 years. I've covered lots of protests, but going into the George Floyd protests, I knew something was different. I knew in the past we failed the community when covering Black Lives Matter. We failed to explain the root of the issue, racism. But I never felt like I could say those things out loud, never thought my voice mattered in that way. See, I'm not only a journalist, I'm a Black woman. When going into the first protest in Atlanta, I wanted to focus on accountability for everyone, including me. I wanted to make sure I was separating riots from peaceful demonstrations, making sure I wasn't demonizing protesters or police. I wanted to make sure people saw the good, not just the bad. 5 days into protests, something happened. It was right after curfew. My cameraman and I ran into these crosses, 16 to be exact, all with the names of dead Black people. We missed it earlier because there were thousands of people out there. But after curfew, it was just the police, other journalists, and these crosses. So I went on air and read them off, one by one.
Botham Jean, Eric Gardner, and it goes all the way down Alton Sterling. And here, at the end right here, is Maud Arbery.
And then I felt something was wrong. So I wrapped up the segment, but one of my anchors asked me a question. So I jumped back on air, and a few seconds later...
They're not just carrying the memory of the George Floyd video. They're carrying the memory of all of these people. I'm sorry.
For the first time in my career, I cried on live TV. The first person to text me after that was my news director. It was 4 words. I'm crying with you. I let out a sigh of relief because I thought for sure I was being fired. My coworkers are texting me, telling me thank you. They've been feeling like this all week. My social media is lighting up with people saying thank you for being human. But even with all that reassurance, I kept wondering, why did you start crying in the first place? And then it hit me. I'd been spending all of my energy doing 2 things, covering the protests and pretending I wasn't Black. I was pretending like I didn't know on a personal level exactly why all those people were out there. I felt pain. I've been called it. Been told I need to straighten my hair in order to get jobs. Have brothers who served in the military but are still worried because even though they wore camo for their country, they feel like it's not enough because they can't take off the one thing that makes them a target, their black skin. When I saw those crosses, I saw all those videos replaying in my head. I realized these communities, my community, have been yelling for years. We just weren't listening. If I'm telling a story about abortion, I'm going to work to understand what pro-abortionists think and what anti-abortionists think so I can tell the whole story. So when covering protests and I'm hiding a part of myself and from myself, and I'm not working to explain why people are out there, then I'm not telling the whole story. I wanted to be a journalist to make sure everyone knew their voice was important. My role is to make sure stories are told accurately, to help everyone understand why.
This is the reason why they're coming out here every single day.
I don't have all the answers, but it's my job to find them.
Well, you can watch 11 Alive's full special Equality Matters, where we examine social injustice in Georgia and all across the country. It's up right now on our 11 Alive YouTube channel.
Really well done. My goodness.
11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
"39 children are now safe after a missing child sting operation spanning from Atlanta to Macon. It was called Operation Not Forgotten. The U.S. Marshals Missing Child Unit teamed up with several other federal, state, and local agencies to serve warrants in Augusta, Atlanta, and Macon. In 2 weeks, 26 children were rescued and another 13 found safe. The Marshal's office says these missing children were considered to be some of the most at risk and challenging recovery cases in the area. 9 people charged with various crimes, including sex trafficking, sex offender violations, and others. This announcement comes the same day as another effort to combat sex trafficking in Georgia.
It is critically important to know the warning signs of sex trafficking.
Kyler Perry teaming up with Georgia's First Lady to put out a new public service announcement to help educate everybody about sex trafficking. The public service announcement calling people to participate in the human trafficking awareness training to learn about the warning signs. Marty Kemp started the Grace Commission to combat human trafficking in Georgia.
You know, I'm just glad that we are all alive. That's it.
Right now on Primetime, Laura packing a powerful punch, slamming into the Texas-Louisiana coastline as one of the most powerful hurricanes in U.S. history. We're going to look at the damage and where the storm is now.
And the power of professional athletes taking a stand for social justice, even if it means sitting out of games.
11 Alive News Primetime on the ATL starts now.
All right, turning now to the Gulf Coast where Laura made landfall overnight as a Category 4 hurricane.
With winds topping 150 miles an hour, it is one of the strongest hurricanes to ever hit U.S. mainland. Since 1851, only 9 other hurricanes have struck with that much force. NBC News reporting the storm blamed for at least 4 deaths in Louisiana, including a 14-year-old girl who was killed when a tree fell on her home. Now downgraded to a tropical storm, Laura is leaving a trail of flooded and wrecked communities in its path. Hundreds of thousands are still without power tonight. President Trump announcing today that he will not delay his speech tonight, but will visit storm-affected areas soon.
Now it turned out we got a little bit lucky. It was very big, it was very powerful, but it passed quickly. And so everything's on schedule. We'll probably be going on Saturday or Sunday.
Cameras showing the catastrophic damage in Lake Charles, Louisiana, which took a direct hit from Laura. And you can see for mile after mile of homes and businesses with the roofs ripped off the top, many completely destroyed, the debris making it treacherous for anyone trying to see what's left of their community. And adding to all this chaos here, folks, a chemical plant fire at a nearby BioLabs facility. The company makes chlorine-based products. Toxic smoke could be seen for miles. Louisiana's governor warned residents to stay inside.
Now is not the time to go sightseeing. I'm appealing to everybody in Louisiana. Don't get out on the road unless it is absolutely necessary for you to do that.
Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb joining us now with the very latest on where Laura is headed and when we could actually feel the effects, Chris.
You know, we saw some of those bands that were moving around Laura that moved into Alabama this afternoon, Aisha, and then as they pushed into Georgia, they started falling apart. We see a little bit of that light rain that was coming into Haralson County and Carroll County, a little pocket of moderate rain right here where you see that yellow there at Haralson moving into Paulding. This was a lot stronger in Randolph County, Alabama, and then that was part of a bigger band that had developed in Alabama a little bit earlier, but that is all weakening. So here's where that rain is in relation to what's going on right now with Laura. Laura now is barely a tropical storm with 40-mile-an-hour winds. We expect it by the 11 o'clock advisory. It's going to be downgraded to a depression, but still it's got a lot of rain with it around this band. We've got a part of a tornado watch left over and even tornado warning here in Mississippi right along Interstate 55 south of Memphis. Other tornado warnings just to the west of Memphis as well. So these bands are still very strong. So let me show you the latest that we have out there right now. This is based on the information that came in at 8 o'clock tonight. As you can see, those winds are just at 40 miles an hour. So that is barely a tropical storm. And it's going to continue moving up to the north. We think it'll become a tropical depression. We have to watch this part here where it starts to turn and move to the east. And between here at Friday afternoon at 2, into Saturday morning early and then into Saturday afternoon, this track or this path is going to help to pull a lot of moisture up out of the Gulf of Mexico. That is not only going to increase our rain chances, but also there is the potential that some areas could see some isolated storms on Saturday, mainly late Friday into early Saturday. Stay with us. I'll break down that timing and the threats that we have as Laura moves to our north.
Well, you know, we've seen all that video. There's a lot of damage, a lot of people out there who will need help. 11 Alive's Tracy Amick-Pierce shows us some Georgia companies stepping up to help out those storm victims.
As Hurricane Laura made landfall on the Gulf Coast, many here in Atlanta were gearing up to help, like Georgia Power. who sent more than 100 crew members to Louisiana.
So we had crews from Macon, Athens, and Rome that got in their line trucks. They headed that way this morning.
They will stage in Baton Rouge until Laura passes through. Allison Gregory says they also sent equipment and trucks.
More than 20 of these bucket trucks are there now, with another 30 on standby. These trucks will be used to assess the damage, repair power lines, and in some cases, replace the power lines altogether.
The poles of snap wires have come completely down, and those are going to have to be replaced.
The Home Depot Foundation is also ready to help, activating their virtual command center in Atlanta and sending disaster kits for hygiene and cleaning.
We have about 500 to 1,000 kits that are sitting in Louisiana right now, and we have about 1,500 kits that are sitting in Florida, ready to move out.
Son Walker says they've also committed equipment and supplies to their partners throughout the area most likely to be hard hit.
Anything around cleaning supplies, shovels, rakes, scouring pads. You're looking at things like saws, you're looking at water, all those different types of things that you would need in a disaster response.
The Red Cross is also doing their part. Right now, there are 16 Georgia volunteers down there, with another 117 on standby. Their main roles will be health services and providing shelter.
We have the latest updates from the damage left behind by this storm, of course, on 11alive.com. And you can also get alerts by downloading the 11 Alive app.
Now there are Orlando Magic players heading back into the locker room.
Despite the overwhelming plea for change, there has been no action.
The consensus is to not play.
On an incredibly emotional evening.
NBA, they are out front.
We all had the same reaction, like, that's monumental right there. That's big.
It's just another advancement in this conversation. We want to see action.
That was the last 24 hours when much of the sports world went quiet. Now, we're starting to learn what happens next after NBA players boycotted playoff games yesterday, threatening the remainder of the season. After league players and the NBA Board of Governors met this morning in Orlando, the players have agreed to play out the season. Reports are they will restart tomorrow or this weekend. A lot of players are not speaking with the media today as they figure out what to do next. Here was the latest statement the Milwaukee Bucks read last night.
We are calling for justice for Jacob Blake and demand the officers be held accountable. For this to occur, it is imperative for the Wisconsin State Legislature to reconvene after months of inaction and take up meaningful measures to address issues of police accountability, brutality, and criminal justice reform.
More Major League Baseball teams deciding not to play tonight. No WNBA games either. Some NFL teams decided not to hold practice today. The Falcons did move forward and met following practice on what's next. They want to do so with a lot of thought.
We're well aware of what's going on. We're trying to figure out the best ways to go forward, or we're not doing anything that's redundant or doing, things that's kind of like knee-jerk reactions.
We're going to support the guys and create space to have conversations. We've been doing that, started in the spring and continued kind of over the summer.
Atlanta United did not play last night against Miami to show their support and solidarity. There is no word yet on when their game will be played. The Braves have a scheduled off day today.
A week ago, nearly 200 people lost their homes as a massive fire ripped through their Buckhead area apartment complex. 11 Alive's Joe Henke spoke with some of the residents who want to go back inside to see if they can salvage anything, but they're being told to stay out.
From personal belongings to work from home items they were using during the pandemic, residents I talked with today say they just want to be allowed back into their old units to see what might be salvageable, but so far they have not been able to get clear answers of when that might be allowed. A fence, no trespassing signs, and boarded up windows now surround the Havana on Main apartments next to Marta's Lindbergh station. Massive flames burned through the attic and fourth floor, causing part of the top floor to collapse last week. The Atlanta Fire Department previously told 11 Alive the entire building appeared to be a loss, with the units that did not burn having extensive smoke and water damage. Renters, though, tell 11 Alive Havana's management has not given any details of if or when they can go back inside to see what they can recover. One resident talked with 11 Alive today by phone.
We want to and have asked to be allowed to get into those units that have not been damaged by fire.
The fire did not reach the first or second floors, giving some residents hope that they did not lose everything.
The pathways, we understand, are accessible, and we just want to be able to get in to get our things. Many of us worked from home, and so we have computer equipment that belong to our employers.
Late this afternoon, Havana on Main's management released a statement reading in part, "We are working with engineers and recovery contractors to assess the integrity of the remaining structure to determine what can be safely accessed and recovered. We will continue to work closely with our residents and keep them updated as we have more information." An Atlanta fire spokesman previously expressed concerns more of the building could collapse. Multiple residents 11 Alive talked with today said they are willing to assume the risk.
If there's a problem with letting us in, they can allow us to sign waivers. So to absolve them from any liability of injury to ourselves.
A couple of months before Congressman John Lewis's death, an Atlanta artist started work on a statue of the civil rights leader. That monument is now nearing completion. Reporter Brittany Klein-Peters spoke with the local artist behind the piece and has more.
I sent that picture to John Lewis, and he was absolutely thrilled.
Internationally recognized sculptor Gregory Johnson was commissioned earlier this year by the National Monument Foundation to begin work on a statue of the late Congressman John Lewis. Just a few months before Lewis's passing, Johnson was asked to send a picture of his design to the congressman.
In terms of timing and impactfulness in history, I think this is probably the most significantly timed opportunity in my life.
Johnson says the 7-foot, 800-pound statue has been a challenge.
I've got 100 pictures of the guy. If you can see, if I need an ear and a profile, if I need a chin, I need the front view of the ears.
The statue will be placed at Atlanta's Peace Park, also known as the Rodney Cook Senior Park in downtown Atlanta. The John Lewis statue will be one of 2 monuments on display when the park first opens this fall. A total of 18 statues will be installed at the park, including Andrew Young and Booker T. Washington. Johnson says that he is proud to be able to honor Lewis's legacy and philosophy.
We wanted him standing his ground, firmly put in place. The things John Lewis gave to society are never going to go away.
Johnson tells me that he'd invited John Lewis to come to his studio to see the statue once it was complete, but Lewis passed away only 4 days after he extended that invite.
Still ahead, colleges reopening to students and staff amid a pandemic. A warning from a group of University of Georgia professors about the school's readiness to handle the coronavirus.
And don't forget, we are streaming right now on the 11 Alive YouTube channel. If you want to follow along with us on the go, hit us up there and join the conversation in the community section. More 11 Alive News in prime time after the break.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you. We
The number of Georgians hospitalized with COVID-19 continues to fall. That's a bright spot in the latest numbers for our state. More than 2,400 new cases today. It's up slightly, but still on track for our 2-week average. But 82 additional deaths reported today, the result of that big jump in cases we saw back in July. At least 26,000 university students and staff have contracted COVID-19 so far this semester across our country. So this is according to an analysis by the New York Times. 4 health professors at the University of Georgia believe their institution is dangerously unprepared. Reveal investigator Andy Pirati spoke with one of those professors and a dean leading UGA's COVID response.
From the University of Tennessee in Arizona and here in Dahlonega, Georgia, video captures crowds of students not wearing masks or socially distancing during a pandemic.
Amazing. Incredible.
Forcing classes to go virtual, putting hundreds in quarantine, and giving Dr. David Bradford plenty of material to discuss his health policy class at the University of Georgia.
We'll be talking about a lot of COVID policy this semester.
This past weekend, he and 3 other health professors at UGA wrote this scathing letter saying the university's COVID-19 policies and lack of testing puts the campus in danger.
It's a foolish plan that doesn't take into account human nature, and our plans have to assume that these students are going to be doing that. It's silly to make a plan otherwise.
Right now, UGA has the capacity to test about 400 random students and staff, with plans to increase that number to 2,000 in the coming months. Bradford says it should be closer to 6,000.
We aren't doing nearly enough to help manage the disease.
Dr. Michelle Nuss is the UGA Medical School campus dean, helping lead the school's COVID response.
What's your response to that?
Well, I think we put the pilot program in. It has worked, proven concept. It's a delicate balance, and I think this is what we put out in our message from the medical oversight group of not wanting to pull supplies from those that are sick, because we have to have PPE, we've got to have swabs, we've got to have FDA approval.
So far this semester, an estimated 241 students and staff have tested positive. The majority of those got those tests off campus. UGA posts its numbers on a weekly basis online. Bradford says it should be posted every day. He's also concerned UGA has not disclosed where positive COVID-19 students will be isolated and how many rooms are available.
Again, this is a situation where secrecy is not anyone's friend here. Mm-hmm. And we need to know where these students are. And, there's a big difference of having 200 spaces available for students if they're diagnosed and having 2 spaces left. We have no idea where we are right now.
I don't know exactly how many we have, but we feel like we've got an adequate amount. They get meals delivered. They do telehealth with their primary care doc over at University Health Center to check on them.
What Dean Nuss and Dr. Bradford can both agree on is that university students and staff are largely wearing their masks and socially distancing in class and around campus. If hotspots do happen, Dean Nuss says that they can deploy 10,000 saliva-based tests that they just ordered. Those test results typically come back in 72 hours or less.
I'm meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11 Alive Storm Trackers. As we watch a band that was coming in from Alabama, like an outer band from rotating around Tropical Storm Laura, and it is falling apart. Just some light rain coming in just south and west of Atlanta. You see my phone right here. I'm in the middle of talking with a lot of folks on Facebook Live, and I want to chat with you now on TV, though, as we see this area of light rain had a lot of thunder and lightning. We had some of our folks on Facebook commenting on the thunder and lightning that they were seeing out in Bowden, Georgia, and that was from the lightning from that storm right there that was in Randolph County, but it got a lot weaker coming into West Georgia, into Carroll County. Also now a little bit of that light rain coming into Paulding County, Douglas, and the northern parts of Carroll right along I-20, but that's falling apart. And that is part of a band that was rotating around. This is Laura. It's a tropical storm that's still centered over Arkansas. We do think that very soon this is going to be downgraded to a tropical depression. Right now, maximum sustained winds are only at 40 miles an hour. That's barely a tropical storm. But we can't ignore this system because it still has bands of heavy rain with it, prompting tornado warnings like you see those north and west of Memphis, that band of rain coming through Memphis, a tornado warning along Interstate 55 in that same band in Mississippi. So we have to watch that very closely as the system is going to move up toward the north and then take a turn to the east. So let's take a look at the specific track of this storm right now. You can see that it is still a tropical storm right there in the middle of Arkansas, just to the west of Memphis. It's going to move up to the north, most likely becoming a tropical depression later on tonight, and then it takes that turn moving over toward the east. And between western parts of Kentucky, where it's a depression, and then in central Kentucky, where it's a low, overnight Friday into Saturday, and then Saturday afternoon, an area of low pressure in Virginia. While it's on this track here, it's going to keep pulling up a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and that's going to give us some higher rain chances and even the potential for some storms too. And then it quickly moves up back into the Atlantic. It could regenerate once it gets into the Atlantic, but we don't think it's going to have any additional impacts on folks. So here's the risk for tomorrow. Severe threat. The yellow color is the slight risk, or level 2 of 5 risk in Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, southern parts of Kentucky. The green color is the marginal risk, and that does come into northwest Georgia. I'm thinking late Friday with some storms that could turn strong. And then Saturday, we have a marginal risk over North Georgia, Metro Atlanta, and areas down to the south. And it's in these areas where we can see some isolated storms, and the main threats would be frequent lightning, damaging winds, heavy rain, and maybe even isolated tornadoes. But I really think that risk for tornadoes is going to be on the lower end. That band that you see right here has already pretty much fallen apart. Once we get into the morning hours, mostly cloudy skies, still mostly cloudy at noon, and then watch in the afternoon, some of those scattered showers start developing, and we have to watch in some of those bands rotating around what's left of that area of low pressure. We could see some strong storms with that. Friday night, some scattered showers still possible, and then overnight Friday into Saturday, that's when this main band is going to be coming in. Some of these storms could be strong as well. This is Saturday morning at 7, and then that moves over to the east by noontime on Saturday. Left behind, we'll still have a few scattered showers, but we're seeing some improvements for the end of the day on Saturday. Second half of the day looking pretty good with some sunshine, and then in the evening looking pretty nice here as well. So we're going to be watching the winds closely as well. Here's the wind in association with Laura as that moves through Tennessee and Kentucky. On Friday, we may see some breezes around 10 miles an hour, but there you see the yellow colors. That's indicating winds of close to 20 miles an hour or a little bit more than that. As that band of rain moves through, we'll keep an eye on that for you as well for the breezy conditions. 40% chance for rain on Friday, and I really think those rain chances will be higher later in the afternoon and evening. Then on Saturday, a 60% chance for rain, but again, that's going to be earlier in the day. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we still have a tropical air mass, plenty of moisture around, and that's going to keep us with a 40% chance for showers with highs in the 80s. We go back down to a 30% chance for showers by Thursday.
No playoff games tonight for the NBA. Bucks players' decision not to play in protest of racial injustice reached several sports leagues. Up next, a closer look at what this could mean moving forward.
See you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people, or are you doing this to make money, or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
Let's start with a viral message going.
An empty court at the Milwaukee Bucks game last night sparked a chain reaction of athletes standing up against police brutality and racism. WNBA teams, including the Washington Mystics and the Atlanta Dream, decided not to play their games. Atlanta United also called off their match. So many teams and athletes coming together to send a very strong message today. On the Live at 5, we spoke with the NBA.com writer Sean Powell about the significance of this moment and what could come next. Because I really do want to know, what was your reaction when you started hearing that the Bucks players were not coming out onto the court last night?
Well, not that much surprise, because when this shooting incident happened, it happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, which is about 40 miles south of Milwaukee. So it kind of hit the Bucks players close to home. The part of me that was a little surprised is that these are basketball players. It takes a lot for them not to play. This is what they do. This is what they love. They've been playing their entire lives. And this is really the first time in NBA history that players boycotted, a team boycotted a game because of racial injustice. There was a point in 1961 where Bill Russell and the black players of the Boston Celtics refused to play in an exhibition game in Lexington, Kentucky, but that game was played. This is something altogether different.
And I heard so much on social media from NBA players saying it said so much that they were still having to make this decision today, all those years after that 1961 stand. And players from different teams and different leagues joined in, Sean, in protest, whether it was soccer or baseball, WNBA as well. And I wanted to read a tweet from Joe Burrow, of course, Heisman winning quarterback, played at LSU, now back home in Ohio playing for the Bengals. And he wrote on Twitter today, "How can you hear the pain of black people, what they're going through, and dismiss it as nothing? How can you hear the pain and respond with anything other than, I stand with you?" Have you, in your conversations, heard any more about maybe some more coordination between the NBA and some of these other leagues moving forward in terms of protesting?
I don't think there's anything organized, but for sure there is a shared brotherhood. They're all athletes, and when something affects one group, it sort of directly affects another. I also think the black players are overjoyed that white athletes are joining in the cause. With someone like Joe Burrow, who has a high status, the #1 pick in the NFL draft, Heisman Trophy winner, and also the quarterback for the national champion LSU Tigers. So it's sort of a unified effort, and it's really not a political effort at all. It's really a human rights effort. It's not about whether you're liberal or conservative or Republican or Democrat. It's really just about human rights. And that's why the players are so united. And that's why I think you saw the ripple effect yesterday, following what happened with the Milwaukee Bucks, spilling over to Major League Baseball, soccer, tennis, and other sports. I can see something like this happening again if there's another incident, and let's hope there's not another incident.
Sean, you mentioned that ripple effect. We saw that online with so many people continuing to share their thoughts about this. There were comments on our Facebook page telling the players that sports is no place for politics, but this one commenter made a good point. It's from Crystal. She says politics have been part of sport for years, from Jesse Owens to Hank Aaron, Muhammad Ali to the '68 Olympics. What do you think the historical significance is here?
Well, I think the historical significance runs deep. You can go back to Jesse Owens in 1936, Jackie Robinson when he broke the color barrier, and you can go to the 1960s when you had Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson, and scores of other athletes making a stand during the civil rights era. Unfortunately, yes, there has been progress, but unfortunately, there hasn't really been enough progress, especially when it comes to police brutality and just the way the police work is done. Not all cops, obviously, and the players really want to stress that. It's just that the use of force against unarmed black men is something that really needs to stop.
And we want to hear your thoughts about this because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks. The conversation continues on our Facebook page, and you can also watch more from Alive at 5 on the 11 Alive YouTube channel. Some scientists are voicing their concerns about a change in CDC guidance when it comes to COVID-19 testing. Many wonder if the move is political. Hear what Dr. Fauci had to say about it next.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
There are growing concerns tonight that new guidance on COVID-19 testing from the CDC is politically motivated. The CDC now says people who don't have coronavirus symptoms don't need to be tested, even though they can carry and spread the virus. And some doctors are now pushing back. They want to see the science to explain why, 6 months into this pandemic, the government is recommending fewer tests instead of more. Here's NBC's Ann Thompson.
New CDC guidelines that say people exposed to COVID with no symptoms no longer need to get tested brought a swift backlash from the medical community.
I think most public health officials believe that this is a bad change. We need to be testing people who are asymptomatic, not shying away from doing those tests.
The American Medical Association calling the change a recipe for community spread and more spikes in coronavirus, and new caution from the nation's leading infectious disease expert. In a statement, Dr. Anthony Fauci said he was under general anesthesia and in surgery the day the task force adopted the new guidelines. He recalls quickly reviewing them, but now, after reading them carefully, says he has some concern that the revised guidelines could be interpreted as lessening the importance of asymptomatic spread of virus in the community. Adding, without testing those who come in close contact with COVID but show no symptoms, asymptomatic spread to others could occur. The changes sparked suspicions of political interference. President Trump urged less testing earlier this summer.
Here's the bad part. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people, you're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
But the administration's testing czar, Admiral Brett Giroir, said there was no direction from the president or vice president on the new guidelines. As for the changes themselves, Admiral Giroir defended the move, saying tests should now be focused and strategically done, not for the sake of being tested. We're trying to do appropriate testing, he said, not less testing. A strategy Harvard's Dr. Ashish Shah questions.
Too often out of the CDC and out of the administration, we have seen guidelines that are not really designed to optimize health and safety of the American people, but really are just an admission that we don't have enough tests in the country.
So late today, Director Redfield offered a new statement out there saying anyone who has close contact with those who have or may have COVID-19 may consider testing. However, there has been no change yet on the CDC website.
Damage assessments are just starting across the states of Louisiana and parts of Texas after Hurricane Laura came in strong ashore last night, overnight hours. Chris Pallone has the very latest from Lafayette, Louisiana.
Daylight and a first look at the destruction left in Hurricane Laura's wake in Lake Charles, Louisiana, some 30 miles from the coast. Roofs left in shambles, trees ripped from their roots, and neighborhoods underwater.
I'm just glad that we are all alive. That's it.
Power lines flung across roadways, a local TV station's tower in a crumpled heap on the ground. Roads flooded in Lafourche Parish. In Westlake, near Lake Charles, a massive inferno at BioLab, a chemical plant that makes chlorine products just after the storm blew through, sending plumes of smoke into the air. In the storm's path, it's a mess of mangled metal, splintered wood, and debris.
We have thousands and thousands of our fellow citizens whose lives are upside down because their businesses and or their homes have been damaged.
After Hurricane Laura roared ashore overnight, a powerful Category 4 storm packing winds of 150 miles per hour, lashing Louisiana and southeast Texas for hours.
Windows broke out, walls came in.
There's a roar like I've never heard before.
The governor of Texas touring the state's hardest hit areas, but says overall the state dodged a bullet.
Now, that of course doesn't help those whose homes have been hit, those whose businesses have been hit. And for those people, we want them to know that we are already working on the process of helping them rebuild.
That rebuilding just beginning across much of the battered region.
Still watching just a couple of little spots of light rain. Now, all the green that you're seeing here on the south side, those are some false echoes that we're seeing right now that show up on the weather, on the radar around this time of night sometimes. But we had this little band of rain that came in from Alabama that had thunder and lightning with it earlier, moved through West Georgia. It's very light rain and it's really falling apart. This is all that's left right now up in Dallas. And there's another cell with some heavier rain just to the north of Cleburne County, Alabama, west of Rome. But here's where it was heavier earlier, coming through Wedowee, Roanoke, Folsom, over in Randolph County, and there you see how it fell apart going through parts of West Georgia. And that was all part of an outer band that was rotating around what is left of Laura, which is still a tropical storm. Here's the center of that storm right there. We'll get in a little bit closer and you can see that these bands are still producing severe weather. This one on Interstate 55 south of Memphis in Mississippi has a tornado warning with it. We've got a couple of tornado warnings up here as well in northern Arkansas, north of Little Rock. So we have to watch these bands very closely, and we're also going to be watching the center of the storm as it moves more to the north and then it goes to the east into Kentucky, and on that track we will see a risk for some showers and maybe even some thunderstorms late Friday into Saturday too. Here's the track. This is what we're watching with the storm now. We expect it to become a tropical depression a little bit later on tonight, most likely with the 11 o'clock advisory. Then we'll watch the depression on Friday afternoon here coming into Kentucky, and then a remnant low, and then into Virginia once we get into Saturday afternoon. So on this track here, it is close enough here to Atlanta that we'll see more Gulf moisture moving in with not only rain chances, but also the potential for some breezes as well as some strong thunderstorms possible in some isolated areas. We'll break down those risks for you in just a few minutes.
Tonight is the final night of the Republican National Convention. Supporters of President Trump tell us his message and those of his family members are big pluses heading into November. 11 Alive's Doug Richards has been out among the voters today and has more from Cartersville.
When Donald Trump won Georgia in 2016, he did so with the support of 3/4 of the voters here in Bartow County.
I listen mostly on Fox News.
I'm 100% for Donald Trump.
The Republican convention has reinforced a lot of what Bartow County voters say they already like about President Trump.
I love it. I've been watching it every night, the whole entire thing.
I think it looks very enthusiastic. I think they're looking great.
I love his family. I think they're wonderful. Melania's wonderful. His children, I think they're great. Yes, very impressed with all of them.
Trump supporters say they have adapted to his style, which even they say they sometimes find challenging.
He can be a little harsh, but I don't care about his personality. I care about what he's doing. I can overlook, I don't have to be married to him. So you have to be tough, and he's tough.
And on the issue that has dogged him most of this year, his backers in Bartow County give President Trump a pass on his handling of the pandemic.
I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. Nobody could have handled that any better than he did, in my opinion.
How do you think he's done handling the pandemic?
I think he's handled it as well as anyone could.
Democrats think Biden does have a chance to win Georgia in 2020. If he does so, it will likely be more with support from voters who live closer to Atlanta than the folks who live here in Bartow County.
Straight ahead, some perspective from the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks as players in sports leagues all across the country speak out against racism and injustice, where he thinks the NBA is headed.
Viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message.
We're continuing to monitor what's taking place in sports right now, where the NBA is hoping to resume playoffs as early as tomorrow after players boycotted. Hawks head coach Lloyd Pierce is an outspoken voice for the league when it comes to diversity. So we spoke with him about the players' mindset as they try to figure out how they can advance their cause.
Players walked off the court, left the building, refused to play. A boycott began. Much of the sports night grew quiet. So where do we go from here?
I know the players are extremely committed to trying to advance to some areas of action. That's what I think the conversation will move towards now.
Atlanta Hawks head coach Lloyd Pierce is not in the NBA Orlando bubble, but if he had been, he knew what he would have done.
We are 100% supportive of what our players are committed to doing.
The Hawks head coach is one of the most outspoken voices in the league.
I don't think anyone's speaking as an athlete right now. I think everyone's speaking as a father, as a brother, as a son. My concern is what am I doing to participate in safety for my daughter and my wife? And the players in Orlando are separated from their families right now. And so they're trying to figure that out without being in proximity or close contact.
NBA players decided a boycott was a way to make their voices heard. Pierce supports them, but wants to find unity in how the league responds to social injustice.
I also know the strength of those guys being together and having these meetings and discussing these plans of actions of what they can do to engage the owners, engage the league, to engage each other. That happens because they're still playing and they're in Orlando. We want our players to play. They want to play. This isn't about this one event. This isn't about our one stance. This is about how do we change the policy.
Pierce applauded the league's reaction, but he hopes that players continue to play and to have their platform.
I want to encourage those guys to have resolve, to come together, have a plan, and be able to support each other while they're there.
We have been watching just a couple of light showers come through West Georgia, and they're falling apart as they get closer to Atlanta. A couple of those holding together in areas, maybe West Cobb getting a little bit of light rain also into the northern parts of Paulding County. And look at that. That was a lot heavier in Randolph County, Alabama earlier, just over the line into Alabama. But now that whole thing is weakening. In fact, you can see this a little bit better here. Plenty of lightning and very heavy rain between Roanoke and Folsom. And then as it moved into Hurd and Carroll, those showers pretty much fell apart. And that's all that we have. A couple of little areas in South Fulton and northern Coweta, maybe just a few sprinkles there. But that's all part of a band that developed earlier today around what is left of Laura. And this is a tropical storm. I really think that by the 11 p.m. advisory, this is going to be downgraded to a tropical depression, but we still can't ignore it because this is going to be a strong area of low pressure that moves up to the north, and then it takes a turn over to the east. And we've got a couple of tornado warnings here, one south of Memphis, one north and west of Memphis in this band. This is what is left of a tornado watch. They're been taking part of it out, and they're just waiting for that entire watch to go away. But there's one of those storms right there along Interstate 55, between 55 and Interstate 22 south of Memphis, that has some rotation with it, and that has prompted a tornado warning there. Now, here's a live look. Take a look at this full. This is up in Athens right now. We're looking down on the street where the roads are dry, where we really didn't see much in the form of rain around today. A lot of cars there parked in the downtown area of Athens tonight. So a nice night there, although it is a little on the muggy side. Today's high made it up to 90 degrees, 3 degrees above average. We should be around 87 for this time of year. And no rain officially at Hartsfield-Jackson. Our surplus now is about 11 3/4 inches above where we should be in rainfall for the year. So let's take a look at the risk for strong storms. Tomorrow, that is going to be mainly over Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and also into Kentucky, where they have that level 2 of 5 risk. And then late Friday into early Saturday, a marginal risk up in North Georgia. And I really think that on Saturday, what you're seeing here, this marginal risk, is mainly for the early part of the day, with marginal risk level 1 of 5 for North Georgia. Atlanta, down on the south side, over to the east of us as well. And the main risks would be frequent lightning, damaging winds, maybe some isolated tornadoes, but I really think that risk is going to be on the low end. So take a look at your weather headlines. We're tracking those remnants of Laura as they move north and then take a turn to the east. We're going to see the rain chances going up again after we had a break in the rain today. And we're going to be watching that storm risk for late Friday and also into Saturday. So this band right here is really falling apart now. It's not really as impressive as what it's showing here on the model. 7 in the morning, we're going to see mostly cloudy skies, and it's going to be kind of a buggy day, more clouds than sun at lunchtime. And then watch some of these scattered showers that'll start developing for the afternoon hours on Friday. And we'll see some of these persisting into the evening hours, scattered, not raining the whole night. And then late Friday night into early Saturday, this is the main event with some of those showers and storms. Some of these are the ones that could be strong. I'm hoping that since this is early in the morning hours, that will take away some of the severity of them. By lunchtime, it moves over into South Carolina and North Carolina. A couple of spotty showers left behind, but then we see some sunshine breaking through for the afternoon hours on Saturday. So the second half of the day Saturday looks better. And then on Sunday, you know, you would think with that tropical system moving out, we would see some dry air coming in. Nope, that's not going to happen. We have plenty of Gulf moisture, tropical moisture left behind. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, each day a 40% chance for showers, then back down to a 30% chance by Thursday.
When protests against police brutality broke out all across the United States, journalists knew it would be one of the biggest stories we would ever cover in our lifetimes. 11 Alive's Hope Ford was in downtown Atlanta for all of it, nearly every day, trying to get to the root of what was causing unrest in our communities. Tonight, she explains what her role is in this renewed movement for racial equality.
I've been a journalist for 12 years. I've covered lots of protests, but going into the George Floyd protests, I knew something was different. I knew in the past we failed the community when covering Black Lives Matter. We failed to explain the root of the issue, racism. But I never felt like I could say those things out loud, never thought my voice mattered in that way. See, I'm not only a journalist, I'm a Black woman. When going into the first protest in Atlanta, I wanted to focus on accountability for everyone, including me. I wanted to make sure I was separating riots from peaceful demonstrations, making sure I wasn't demonizing protesters or police. I wanted to make sure people saw the good, not just the bad. 5 days into protests, something happened. It was right after curfew. My cameraman and I ran into these crosses, 16 to be exact, all with the names of dead Black people. We missed it earlier because there were thousands of people out there. But after curfew, it was just the police, other journalists, and these crosses. So I went on air and read them off, one by one. Botham Jean, Eric Gardner, and it goes all the way down Alton Sterling. And here, at the end right here, is Maud Arbery. And then I felt something was wrong. So I wrapped up the segment, but one of my anchors asked me a question. So I jumped back on air, and a few seconds later... They're not just carrying the memory of the George Floyd video. They're carrying the memory of all of these people. I'm sorry. For the first time in my career, I cried on live TV. The first person to text me after that was my news director. It was 4 words. I'm crying with you. I let out a sigh of relief because I thought for sure I was being fired. My coworkers are texting me, telling me thank you. They've been feeling like this all week. My social media is lighting up with people saying thank you for being human. But even with all that reassurance, I kept wondering, why did you start crying in the first place? And then it hit me. I'd been spending all of my energy doing 2 things, covering the protests and pretending I wasn't Black. I was pretending like I didn't know on a personal level exactly why all those people were out there. I felt pain. I've been called it. Been told I need to straighten my hair in order to get jobs, have brothers who served in the military but are still worried because even though they wore camo for their country, they feel like it's not enough because they can't take off the one thing that makes them a target, their Black skin. When I saw those crosses, I saw all those videos replaying in my head. I realized these communities, my community, had been yelling for years. We just weren't listening. If I'm telling a story about abortion, I'm going to work to understand what pro-abortionists think and what anti-abortionists think so I can tell the whole story. So when covering protests and I'm hiding a part of myself and from myself, and I'm not working to explain why people are out there, then I'm not telling the whole story. I wanted to be a journalist to make sure everyone knew their voice was important. My role is to make sure stories are told accurately, to help everyone understand why.
This is the reason why they're coming out here every single day.
I don't have all the answers, but it's my job to find them.
You can watch 11 Alive's full special Equality Matters, where we examine social injustice in Georgia and across the country. It is up on our 11 Alive YouTube channel right now. 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscast not enough for you? Get even more at 11.
There is a group of nurses, doctors, and hospital staff, and they've been on a mission to try to boost morale this week. Not just inside their building, but in a way that can also make a difference in the community. And it's been a big hit. Here's Cheryl Preheim.
Hospitals have been the places of uncertainty and challenges, more lately than ever, but also places to come together,
Bring a smile to people's faces.
and lift each other up in all kinds of ways.
Because we all had masks on, everyone was like, is that you in the corner?
Dr. Dana Oshesky is a surgeon at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. She's also the dancer front row far left in a moment they all needed after many stressful months for staff and patients.
Talk a little bit about your crew. We are all diverse. There was one of the plastic surgeons in there. There was nurses, scrub techs. Something to do to have fun, kind of bring us all together a little bit during this heavy time.
The dance was part of a morale-building week, full of treats and encouragement, simple gestures with deeper meaning and understanding that people are going through a lot right now.
Yes, this is a tough time all of us are going through, but we can still have a little fun and find a little joy in each and every day. For that day, this was my joy.
So good to see that. So necessary to see people having a good time, finding a little piece of joy wherever they can. Great way to end that with you here in the 9 o'clock hour. We will see you in prime time, rolling on at 10 o'clock.
The broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
11 Alive News Primetime on the ATL starts now.
New tonight at 10, a memorial honoring the lives of COVID-19 victims in Georgia. We're giving you a live look as families march to the Capitol in remembrance tonight.
And thousands of people ready to march on Washington for social justice. Tonight we hear from the widow of Rayshard Brooks as she prepares to join them.
Plus, after a few weeks of school and welcoming students back into the classroom, we're now getting a closer look at how COVID-19 is impacting children.
This was the most powerful storm to ever make landfall in Louisiana. Today is about saving lives, moving people out of their homes if their homes are no longer safe and habitable.
When you consider the magnitude of the damage that could have occurred here, we did dodge a bullet.
Hurricane Laura, now a tropical storm, but more than 500,000 people in Louisiana and Texas still without power hours after the storm made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane.
We have drone video for you right now, and it is showing heavy flooding in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Despite the destruction, officials in both states say, as you heard the governor of Texas say a moment ago, that it could have been worse, much worse. So far, 6 people, though, have died in Louisiana, including a 14-year-old girl who was struck by a tree. We've got more video now from Lake Charles. The city took a direct hit from the hurricane as it moved onshore overnight. Devastating winds, buildings destroyed, power lines knocked down, poles snapped, trees gone, debris piling very high, folks trying to get back to work. In Louisiana, the National Guard is out assessing the damage. They have been all day, all night, will do so for the course of tomorrow as well. They're checking for people who may need to be rescued.
That system could still impact our weather right here. For the weekend, Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb is tracking the upcoming changes for us.
Yeah, Aisha, even though the storm made it inland, it's weakening right now, we still can't ignore it. We have to watch those remnants as it will send bands of rain our way and even the potential for some storms late Friday and into Saturday. Here's what we're watching right now, just a little bit of light rain. This is left over from a rain band that was over into Alabama that was a lot stronger earlier, and we just have a couple little sprinkles left with that right now. Look how all the intense lightning that we had between Roanoke and Folsom, Alabama, and as it crossed the line over to Georgia, it really started falling apart. And that was part of a bigger band earlier, rain band, an outer band here. We've got one right there just to the west of Rome with a little bit of lightning in association with that. That's moving up toward the north. Dade, Walker County, you might get in on that. But here you can see the center of the storm right now. This is what's left of it. Barely a tropical storm with maximum sustained winds of 40 miles an hour. We expect this to be downgraded to a tropical depression, most likely with the 11 p.m. advisory, but this is why we can't ignore this system, because look at these bands here coming around. 3 tornado warnings up just to the north and west of Memphis. We also had a tornado warning with this right along Interstate 55 in Mississippi. So as the center of the storm moves up to the north and then to the east, we also are going to have to watch any of those bands that develop out of it, moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico, and the potential for a few storms to develop late Friday and into Saturday. The Storm Prediction Center does have us in some of the outlook areas for a severe weather risk. We'll break that down for you in just a few minutes.
There is a lot of damage, a lot of people needing help right now. 11 Alive's Tracy Amick Pierre is showing us some Georgia companies are stepping up to help lend a hand to these storm victims everywhere.
As Hurricane Laura made landfall on the Gulf Coast, many here in Atlanta were gearing up to help, like Georgia Power, who sent more than 100 crew members to Louisiana.
So we had crews from Macon, Athens, and Rome that got in their line trucks. They headed that way this morning.
They will stage in Baton Rouge until Laura passes through. Allison Gregory says they also sent equipment and trucks.
More than 20 of these bucket trucks are there now, with another 30 on standby. These trucks will be used to assess the damage, repair power lines, and in some cases, replace the power lines altogether.
The poles of snap wires have come completely down. And those are going to have to be replaced.
The Home Depot Foundation is also ready to help, activating their virtual command center in Atlanta and sending disaster kits for hygiene and cleaning.
We have about 500 to 1,000 kids that are sitting in Louisiana right now, and we have about 1,500 kids that are sitting in Florida, ready to move out.
Son Walker says they've also committed equipment and supplies to their partners throughout the area most likely to be hard hit.
Anything around cleaning supplies, shovels, rakes, scouring pads. You're looking at things like saws, you're looking at water, all those different types of things that you would need in a disaster response.
The Red Cross is also doing their part. Right now, there are 16 Georgia volunteers down there, with another 117 on standby. Their main roles will be health services and providing shelter.
We have the very latest updates from the damage left behind by the storm on 11alive.com. So much to see. As you can see, Chris Holcomb right there. We'll have the very latest for you, everything you need to know as far as the weather and as far as your weekend ahead. You can also get alerts by downloading the 11 Alive app.
The number of Georgians hospitalized with COVID-19 continues to fall. That is a bright spot in the latest numbers for our state. More than 2,400 new cases today, up slightly, but still on track for our 2-week average. But 82 additional deaths reported, the result of that big jump in cases we saw in July.
COVID victims are more than numbers, and that's what a local organization wants everybody to remember, to honor the over 5,000 people who have died from the virus here in our state. A makeshift memorial erected near the Georgia Aquarium.
Hope Forward joins us live tonight from the Capitol. Hope, what do the families and organizers tell you about this memorial?
Well, they told me to think back to when COVID first hit Georgia and to those first people who died from the virus. At the time, we learned about them, their name, their job, their story. But since then, the numbers have grown so much that it seems that's all they've become, just numbers. Each one of these over 5,000 hearts is a person, a mother, a father, a coworker, a friend. That's what Jenna Johnson Davis wants people to remember.
It was really uncomfortable for me to hear lawmakers just kind of write them off as statistics.
Johnson Davis is the chairman of the Loved Ones Not Numbers campaign. They invited families to fill this fence with their broken hearts because that's all that's left behind after their loved ones died from COVID. Loved ones like Pleasant Williams Wesley, who went into the ICU in April.
And they had to take him off the ventilator, and he didn't make it.
Williams Wesley left behind 12 children, over 25 grandchildren, and his wife of 71 years.
So how's she doing? She's recovered. She had COVID as well. So she's recovering, but still mourning his loss because, you know, I called her and I asked her before. I said, Mother, I'm going down to help with the loved ones. And I asked her, I said, what would you like for me to put on the heart? And she said that you're my shining star, but you had to go away too soon.
For William Wesley's daughter and granddaughter, this is how they're coping.
We're just existing for right now.
Families also marched to the Capitol for a candlelit vigil.
We're saying enough is enough. Our hearts are grieving.
They want to honor their loved ones, but also call for change so they can stop adding more broken hearts. And the Georgia Coalition to Save Lives helped put this memorial together. They say they've asked for a meeting with Governor Brian Kemp since May, and they've yet to receive a yes answer. They really want to talk about a statewide mask mandate and other policies they can hopefully see put in place to help reduce the number of COVID deaths.
All right, Hope, thank you. The number of Americans and Georgians filing for unemployment benefits for the first time dropped this week. The U.S. Department of Labor says that number is just above 1 million, but the number is continuing. The number of continuing claims remains high, that is. In Georgia, there were more than 54,000 new claims. That's down by about 4,000 from the previous week.
New tonight, tens of thousands of people are set to march on Washington tomorrow, the 57th anniversary of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech.
The focus of the march this year will be on police brutality, and a local family is leading the charge. Caitlin Ross reports the widow of Rayshard Brooks is speaking at the march.
Tamika Miller wants everyone to hear her message at the March on Washington.
I want to see people who are sitting at home because they're not actually having it on their doorstep come out and take a stand and also march because it affects everybody at the end of the day.
Her husband, Rayshard Brooks, was shot in the back, killed by an Atlanta police officer in June. She says when she heard Jacob Blake was shot in the back by police in Wisconsin, she immediately understood the anger.
You see how the riots are turning out. People are becoming so angry that they're being destructive. They feel like their voice isn't being heard.
She says she wants people to march for change tomorrow, and she wants police officers to change the way they see the African American community.
I want to see, the police officers, stand up and say, hey, we're not going to allow our other officers to continue doing these same things.
Her attorneys want the march to send a powerful message to everyone in the United States.
Unity. That's the only way that change happens is unity, not chaos, not riots, not any, craziness, but unity.
They say they're encouraged by professional athletes who are refusing to play as they push for systematic change in America.
Where they go, the money goes. And so other people who weren't listening before are listening now because, that has caused some kind of inconvenience in their life.
Even if people can't attend the march in person, Tamika says she hopes everyone who sees it understands they are supported and loved.
There is justice, there is love, there is a community that care.
People will start gathering at 7 a.m. tomorrow in Washington, D.C., with the main program kicking off at 11 a.m. Organizers say they're expecting upwards of 100,000 people. Masks are mandatory, and they'll be strictly enforcing social distancing.
Kenosha, Wisconsin's police chief is trying to reassure the community as protests continue in the state.
The voice of those people is not falling upon deaf ears. We are hearing what is being said.
Wisconsin's Attorney General has released the name of the officer who shot Jacob Blake in the back. His name is Rustin Sheskey. He has been with the Kenosha Police Department for 7 years. The Attorney General also said a knife was found on the driver's side floorboard of Mr. Blake's car. 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse is charged with intentional homicide. 2 people were shot and killed during protests on Tuesday night.
NBA players have agreed to play out the season after they and the NBA Board of Governors met this morning in Orlando. They will restart this weekend. Many players are not speaking with the media today as they figure out what to do next. Here was the latest statement the Milwaukee Bucks read last night.
We are calling for justice for Jacob Blake and demand the officers be held accountable. For this to occur, it is imperative for the Wisconsin State Legislature to reconvene after months of inaction and take up meaningful measures to address issues of police accountability, brutality, and criminal justice reform.
We'll have much more on how professional athletes are speaking out on social injustice coming up in sports in about 35 minutes.
39 children now safe after a missing child sting operation spanning from Atlanta to Macon. It was called Operation Not Forgotten. The U.S. Marshals Missing Child Unit teamed up with several other federal, state, and local agencies to serve warrants in Augusta, Atlanta, and Macon. In 2 weeks, 26 kids were rescued. Another 13 were found safe. The Marshal's office says these missing children were considered to be some of the most at risk and challenging recovery cases in the area. 9 people charged with various crimes, including sex trafficking and sex offender violations.
With students going back to the classroom, we're getting more information and a closer look at how COVID-19 is affecting kids. We break down the numbers next.
Are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted,
The State Board of Education met about several topics today. One of the big topics, you guessed it, virtual learning. Board members talked about their need to get more involved to verify that districts are handling virtual learning efficiently. Board members say they never saw virtual learning and COVID-19 in the state extending for this long. There's no doubt we've seen more cases of COVID in our school-age children since school reopened. We're diving into the data looking at Cherokee, Paulding, Polk, and Bartow counties, all school districts that open with in-person classes the first week of August. Here we go. The state won't tell us, though, how many cases were reported each week if the number is less than 9. None of those counties had enough cases to report until late June. At that time, cases were likely tied to things like summer camp, play dates, or family vacations. But the number of new COVID cases reported seems to increase as athletes return for practice. And you'll notice for all but Bartow, cases in the county spiked to their highest level the week after school started. The Metro's 3 largest counties, Fulton, Gwinnett, and Cobb, all decided to start the school year virtually. Even though schools in these counties did not start until mid to late August, it appears families staying home to get their students ready helped reduce the number of new infections. These counties have still reported some COVID cases since they've allowed athletes to gather on campus for practice.
We're expecting a rainy weekend ahead. Oh, tell me it is not so, Chris. Oh, come on. There's got to be better news than that. We don't want an evening and an afternoon of wine sampling inside.
Well, we're going to see some showers redeveloping now, and I think the timing, though, is going to be more Friday evening and overnight into Saturday morning. I'm thinking Saturday afternoon and night are going to be better for you.
Oh, good.
Jeff,
all right. I'm feeling better. You know, you always make me feel better.
I'm trying. You know, any weekend is better than no weekend at all, but we'd like to have a break in the rain, right? Let me show you what we're watching right now, where we have a few of those lighter showers, all part of a band that we were watching back into Alabama, an outer band that was heavier earlier. It's falling apart as it comes in. Just a few sprinkles out of that. You can see a lot of the thunder and lightning that was over in Randolph County, Alabama, but as it moved into Georgia, it's really been falling apart. And we had that band that was a little more impressive in Alabama earlier. Now there's another one that is developing in western Alabama. You can kind of see that right there. If you'll notice here, we have the spin of what is left of Tropical Storm Laura. I really think with the 11 p.m. advisory, this is going to be downgraded to a tropical depression, but it's almost like a pinwheel where we see these bands of rain developing with that, and we have what's left of one that just is falling apart right now that was a little more impressive over in Alabama. Here's the storm, though. Maximum sustained wind still at 40 miles an hour. I really think, as I mentioned, this is going to be downgraded to a tropical depression, but we can't ignore it because this is still going to be a strong area of low pressure that moves north and then it pushes to the east. Check out this band. We've got a couple of tornado warnings there north and west of Memphis in that band there. We had one earlier south of Memphis in that rain band that was rotating around Laura. So we see that later tonight this is going to be a tropical depression, and then it takes that turn. Still a depression Friday afternoon, and then Saturday early in the morning it's a remnant low, and then it moves over into Virginia. So as it travels from here in western Kentucky all the way over to Virginia, this is going to be close enough to us in Atlanta to trigger some showers, as this is going to be pulling in some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, more of that tropical rich moisture. Also, the proximity of that low to us will give us some breezes, as well as the potential for maybe some strong thunderstorms. Tomorrow's storm risk is mainly going to be to our west. And you see the yellow color here? That's the slight risk, level 2 of 5, 4 strong storms in North Alabama, North Mississippi, Tennessee, western parts of Kentucky. But as that gets closer to us, you see the marginal risk, which is the green color in northwest Georgia. That's for late Friday, and then late Friday into early Saturday, the marginal risk extends over North Georgia, metro Atlanta, and areas to the south, also over to East Georgia. So it's going to be in the earlier morning hours on Saturday to around lunchtime when we have this marginal risk and the potential for frequent lightning, damaging winds, and maybe even some isolated tornadoes. I really don't think that the tornado risk is going to be on the high end. So here you can see in the morning, we're going to have mostly cloudy skies, lunchtime mostly cloudy, and then in the afternoon, some of those scattered showers start to develop and move into our area. A few of those into the evening, just scattered around, and then it's going to be late Friday night into Saturday when the main area of rain comes in, and it's going to be some of these pockets of heavy rain where we can see some of that wind, lightning, as well as the potential for some isolated tornadoes, again, that I think is on the low end. By lunchtime, that main area is over into the Carolinas. We'll still have spotty showers here left behind, but check this out. By later in the afternoon Saturday, we're thinking we'll see some sunshine. So as I was just telling Jeff, I really think it's going to be late Friday into early Saturday with that biggest rain chance and storm risk, and then it starts to clear out. The problem is nothing comes in to dry us out and to clear out our atmosphere. So we're still going to have tropical moisture left behind into next week, keeping us with rain chances. Again, not as high as on Saturday, but still 40% chance for showers for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, highs in the 80s. And then we do go down a little bit to a 30% chance for rain by Thursday. Take a look at your weather wow moment. Now, you know, we've been showing you a lot of video along the actual eye of the storm moving in. This is just west of the eye in Houston, right there at the Golden Nugget, and the casino there, and you can see those strong winds that were whipping up some debris in that area and blowing it around, coming from some of those tall buildings. We'd love to see your weather wow moment as well. And many of these locally come from our 11 Alive community storm trackers. You can be a part of that group by just searching 11 Alive Storm Trackers on Facebook. Ask to become a member. You can see what other folks are sharing, and you can share the information, videos, and pictures from your neighborhood there too.
Up next, lifting spirits. A group of local healthcare workers using different skills to spread a little light inside the hospital and beyond.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house?
A group of nurses, doctors, and hospital staff have been on a mission to boost morale this week, not just inside their building, but in a way that can also make a difference in their community. And it's been a hit. Cheryl Preheim shows us how.
Hospitals have been the places of uncertainty and challenges, more lately than ever, but also places to come together,
bring a smile to people's faces,
and lift each other up in all kinds of ways.
Because we all had masks on, everyone was like, is that you in the corner?
Dr. Dana Oshesky is a surgeon at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. She's also the dancer front row far left in a moment they all needed after many stressful months for staff and patients.
Talk a little bit about your crew. We are all diverse. There was one of the plastic surgeons in there. There was nurses, scrub techs. Something to do to have fun, kind of bring us all together a little bit during this heavy time.
The dance was part of a morale-building week, full of treats and encouragement, simple gestures with deeper meaning and understanding that people are going through a lot right now.
Yes, this is a tough time all of us are going through, but we can still have a little fun and find a little joy in each and every day. For that day, this was my joy.
Nothing like a little morale booster, right, Jeff?
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Went to med school and she did more than just study, clearly.
Exactly, right? You can go to med school and have moves too.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, no, me either. Not so much.
Not smart enough.
Moves, not med school. I got moves though.
I got no moves. I got no med school. I got nothing.
You got good hair.
Yeah, it sails tall ships.
It looks good tonight. All right, Jeff, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm headed over to get ready for Up Late on 11 Alive, coming up in about 35 minutes.
All right, Aisha, we'll see you then. Coming up on the Big 36, here's what we have for you where news is king. Journalists have to ask what role they are playing in the movement for equality. One of our reporters, Hope Ford, with a very moving piece, a narrative about what it's like to be a black woman reporting on the Black Lives Matter protests in Atlanta. It's very compelling. You'll want to see it coming up next.
The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash.
When protests against police brutality broke out across the United States, journalists knew it would be one of the biggest stories that they would cover during their careers. 11 Alive's Hope Ford was in downtown Atlanta night after night. You remember, she was trying to get to the root of what was causing the unrest. Tonight, she explains what her role was and is in the renewed movement toward racial equality in the United States.
I've been a journalist for 12 years. I've covered lots of protests, but going into the George Floyd protests, I knew something was different. I knew in the past we failed the community when covering Black Lives Matter. We failed to explain the root of the issue, racism. But I never felt like I could say those things out loud, never thought my voice mattered in that way. See, I'm not only a journalist, I'm a Black woman. When going into the first protest in Atlanta, I wanted to focus on accountability for everyone, including me. I wanted to make sure I was separating riots from peaceful demonstrations, making sure I wasn't demonizing protesters or police. I wanted to make sure people saw the good, not just the bad. 5 days into protests, something happened. It was right after curfew. My cameraman and I ran into these crosses, 16 to be exact, all with the names of dead Black people. We missed it earlier because there were thousands of people out there. But after curfew, it was just the police, other journalists, and these crosses. So I went on air and read them off, one by one. Botham Jean, Eric Gardner, and it goes all the way down Alton Sterling. And here, at the end right here, is Maud Arbery. And then I felt something was wrong. So I wrapped up the segment, but one of my anchors asked me a question. So I jumped back on air, and a few seconds later... They're not just carrying the memory of the George Floyd video. They're carrying the memory of all of these people. I'm sorry. For the first time in my career, I cried on live TV. The first person to text me after that was my news director. It was 4 words. I'm crying with you. I let out a sigh of relief because I thought for sure I was being fired. My coworkers are texting me, telling me thank you. They've been feeling like this all week. My social media is lighting up with people saying thank you for being human. But even with all that reassurance, I kept wondering, why did you start crying in the first place? And then it hit me. I'd been spending all of my energy doing 2 things, covering the protests and pretending I wasn't Black. I was pretending like I didn't know on a personal level exactly why all those people were out there. I felt pain. I've been called it. Been told I need to straighten my hair in order to get jobs, have brothers who served in the military but are still worried because even though they wore camo for their country, they feel like it's not enough because they can't take off the one thing that makes them a target, their Black skin. When I saw those crosses, I saw all those videos replaying in my head. I realized these communities, my community, had been yelling for years. We just weren't listening. If I'm telling a story about abortion, I'm going to work to understand what pro-abortionists think and what anti-abortionists think so I can tell the whole story. So when covering protests and I'm hiding a part of myself and from myself, and I'm not working to explain why people are out there, then I'm not telling the whole story. I wanted to be a journalist to make sure everyone knew their voice was important. My role is to make sure stories are told accurately, to help everyone understand why. This is the reason why they're coming out here every single day. I don't have all the answers, but it's my job to find them.
You can watch 11 Alive's full special, Equality Matters. We examine social injustice in our state and across the country. It is up on our 11 Alive YouTube channel right now. There are growing concerns that new guidance on COVID-19 testing from the CDC is politically motivated. The CDC now says people who don't have coronavirus symptoms don't need to be tested, even though they can carry and spread the virus. Some doctors are pushing back. Here's NBC's Ann Thompson with more.
New CDC guidelines that say people exposed to COVID with no symptoms no longer need to get tested brought a swift backlash from the medical community.
I think most public health officials believe that this is a bad change. We need to be testing people who are asymptomatic, not shying away from doing those tests.
The American Medical Association calling the change a recipe for community spread and more spikes in coronavirus, and new caution from the nation's leading infectious disease expert. In his statement, Dr. Anthony Fauci said he was under general anesthesia and in surgery the day the task force adopted the new guidelines. He recalls quickly reviewing them, but now, after reading them carefully, says he has some concern that the revised guidelines could be interpreted as lessening the importance of asymptomatic spread of virus in the community. Adding, without testing those who come in close contact with COVID but show no symptoms, asymptomatic spread to others could occur. The changes sparked suspicions of political interference. President Trump urged less testing earlier this summer.
Here's the bad part. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people, you're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
But the administration's testing czar, Admiral Brett Giroir, said there was no direction from the president or vice president on the new guidelines. As for the changes themselves, Admiral Giroir defended the move, saying tests should now be focused and strategically done, not for the sake of being tested. We're trying to do appropriate testing, he said, not less testing. A strategy Harvard's Dr. Ashish Shah questions.
Too often out of the CDC and out of the administration, we have seen guidelines that are not really designed to optimize health and safety of the American people, but really are just an admission that we don't have enough tests in the country.
Late today, Director Redfield offered a new statement saying anyone who has close contact with those who have or may have had COVID-19 may consider testing. However, there has been no change yet on the CDC websites. A week ago, nearly 200 people lost their homes as a massive fire burned through a Buckhead area apartment complex. Joe Hankey talked with residents who say they want to go back inside to see if they can salvage anything, but they can't get in. They're being kept out.
From personal belongings to work from home items they were using during the pandemic, residents I talked with today say they just want to be allowed back into their old units to see what might be salvageable, but so far they have not been able to get clear answers of when that might be allowed. A fence, no trespassing signs, and boarded up windows now surround the Havana on Main apartments next to Marta's Lindbergh station. Massive flames burned through the attic and fourth floor, causing part of the top floor to collapse last week. The Atlanta Fire Department previously told 11 Alive the entire building appeared to be a loss, with the units that did not burn having extensive smoke and water damage. Renters, though, tell 11 Alive Havana's management has not given any details of if or when they can go back inside to see what they can recover. One resident talked with 11 Alive today by phone.
We want to and have asked to be allowed to get into those units that have not been damaged by fire.
The fire did not reach the first or second floors, giving some residents hope that they did not lose everything.
The pathways, we understand, are accessible, and we just want to be able to get in to get our things. Many of us worked from home, and so we have computer equipment that belong to our employers.
Late this afternoon, Havana on Main's management released a statement reading in part, "We are working with engineers and recovery contractors to assess the integrity of the remaining structure to determine what can be safely accessed and recovered. We will continue to work closely with our residents and keep them updated as we have more information." An Atlanta fire spokesman previously expressed concerns more of the building could collapse. Multiple residents 11 Alive talked with today said they are willing to assume the risk.
If there's a problem with letting us in, they can allow us to sign waivers. So to absolve them from any liability of injury to ourselves.
It is the final night of the RNC. President Trump will be speaking as 2 weeks of conventions finally come to an end. Joining me now, national columnist Ron Hart. Ron, earlier this week, Herschel Walker spoke at the RNC. And if you know Herschel, you know his political leanings. Your thoughts on his speech and the conventions in general. What's your take?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, I thought the Republican was young and energized. The Democrat convention was kind of a gerontocracy out there speaking a whole lot. Biden talked about, darkness, follow him into the light, darkness. But I get real nervous following a 78-year-old guy into the light. So it made the country nervous, I believe. So some of the young dynamic leaders of the Republican Party, I think, were very good last week. And Herschel Walker among them. Tim Scott as well over in South Carolina was really good.
Some other big political events happening worldwide right now. There are reports, many of them legitimate, which is saying something these days, that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is in a coma and his sister would take over. She allegedly is more ruthless than he. How does that change the dynamic of the world order and the Pacific shelf should he pass on to the big mountain in the sky?
Well, who's his sister? Kim Kardashian? Who's his sister? I'm not sure. But yeah, I think it'll be a mess. He's the only guy in the world who can win a Nobel Peace Prize by just dying. If he does die. I know he pulled this one time before, faking a coma, faking his death just to see he was loyal to him. And anyone turned on him, he killed him. So.
Vladimir Putin is a man who does not appreciate those who do not agree with him. In fact, His prime rival was sipping tea in an airport area and then collapsed and has been in a coma ever since.
Who knew? And what are the odds? Putin wins his election in landslides, and his opponents die in landslides. It's kind of odd how that kind of happens over there. It's in America, in Russia, you can't make jokes about the president. And in America, we elect jokes to our presidency. So it's a little different country. I like our side doing humor and everything. I like the idea of the First Amendment. Over there, not so much. So but I hear Putin is really torn up about this guy dying. He's actually going to wear a shirt to the funeral, so he's not going to go bare-chested. I understand. I mean, this is my diplomatic contacts over there.
I'm sorry to be giving you a laugh on that one, but with that, we will exit stage left here. Ron Hart, we always enjoy having you with us. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
We just got the new advisory on Laura, and as expected, it is no longer a tropical storm. It has been downgraded to a tropical depression. We still need to watch the remnants of that system as it tracks to our north. We'll talk about our rain and storm risk as we head into the weekend.
More local athletes speaking out, and the WNBA clarifies what it hopes to accomplish by not playing. All that's coming up in sports.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended
Laura has now been downgraded to a tropical depression. This after the storm made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane. At least 6 people were killed. The drone video we're looking at shows the damage in Orange, Texas. And Ton Trong has a look at the damage in Lake Charles.
We're at the intersection of Martin Luther King Highway and Highway 90 in Lake Charles, and for most of the morning, the skyline here was dominated by a large plume of black smoke coming from that area. That was from a chemical fire, but at this point, that plume has dissipated. But take a look lower here. That water that you see is very deceptive because it is more the exception, not the rule in and around here. Laura was really a wind event, a tornadic event in and around Lake Charles. The further east you go on Martin Luther King Highway, you will see many down power lines, many down trees, uprooted trees as well. If we come over here, take a look over here. This is the Lord's Outreach Worship Center. 30 people rode out the storm last night in that center. We spoke with one parishioner who says it was by the grace of God that that church is still standing. There are many more people right now trying to assess the damage. We can certainly tell you that in and around here in the subdivisions around Lake Charles, further east of here, you will see many down power lines, businesses without power. There is no power at the traffic stops at this point, but you do have a good amount of traffic going through. This is when the danger also comes in, as many people are trying to assess the damage and sightsee as well. But the positive news is that the National Guard is on the ground trying to clear a lane going through here, hoping to get some emergency response and hopefully some supplies to people who rode out the storm.
I'm meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11 Alive Storm Trackers, and we continue to track some bands that are kind of rotating around what is left of Laura. As Jeff mentioned, it has just been downgraded to a tropical depression. You can see here just to the north of Rome and northwest of Rome, moving into parts of Chattooga County, we have some showers with some thunder and lightning there, and they're going to move up into Dade and Walker County. And we have other bands here, one in Mississippi, another one trying to develop in parts of Alabama, but the trend is going to be that they're going to weaken a little bit as they move closer to us. You can see how this storm is not as impressive looking now as it was definitely last night as it was moving in, but then throughout the day it's been kind of breaking up a little bit and weakening. However, we're not going to ignore it because we still have to watch these remnants as they move up to the north and then turn to the east. And look at this band right here. This is well to the north and west of Memphis. In that band, we have a tornado warning in that. We've had multiple tornado warnings in that band that's been emanating from the center of that circulation here right over Little Rock. Now, the maximum sustained winds are down a little bit to 35 miles an hour, so it's no longer a tropical storm. It is a tropical depression now, moving to the north-northeast at 15 miles an hour. So it's starting to take a little bit. Instead of moving north, it's north-northeast, so it's just beginning that easterly turn here and will continue moving to the east through Kentucky. This is tomorrow night, still is a tropical depression. Then it becomes a remnant low by Saturday morning. So on this track from Friday night to Saturday morning, this is when it's going to be north of us here in Atlanta. It'll be pulling up a lot of that tropical moisture, giving us our best rain chances late Friday into early Saturday. Also some storm risks with that as well. And then once we get into the later hours on Saturday, that's at 8 p.m. And then into Sunday, it moves back out over the ocean, could regenerate into a tropical storm again. But that's the time frame we're going to be watching here as it is north of Atlanta, giving us those higher rain chances late Friday into Saturday. In the morning, we're going to see mostly cloudy skies, not raining at noontime tomorrow. It's going to be in the afternoon when we see some scattered showers developing. Some of these could be strong at times. And then late Friday night and into Saturday, that's when one of these main bands comes in. This is when we can see some of the severe weather on Saturday. I'm hoping that since this time's out for the early morning hours, that our severe weather risk is going to be on the lower end. That exits into South Carolina by noontime on Saturday. We'll still see some spotty showers left behind, but then look what happens in the afternoon. Clouds break up, we'll see some sunshine, and Saturday's not going to be a washout. The second half of the day is going to be all right. Then on Sunday, the problem is we don't see a frontal boundary or drier air coming in. We're still going to have a lot of tropical moisture in place, so a 40% chance for showers Sunday through Wednesday, then down to 30% on Thursday.
It appears the NBA playoffs should resume by the weekend at the very latest Saturday. Players and NBA governors met in the Orlando bubble to discuss what more can be done so that they can resume play and then continue their fight for social justice collectively as players and as teams and as a league. It involved a meeting with Michael Jordan being a liaison between the two sides. All of tonight's games, as you know, were postponed. Today, more teams outside of the NBA called off games and practices. Some NFL clubs decided not to practice. The Falcons did go this morning. Atlanta United decided not to play against Miami last night. They showed a sign of unity, then walked off the field. Today, athletes from both teams spoke out about the movement that they are now supporting.
Before we were athletes, we are humans that need to acknowledge each other and support each other. And we felt like in that moment, it was bigger, like I said, than our two locker rooms.
Protesting is definitely one of the biggest impacts. It's one of the biggest things you can do. And then right after that, you got to have something that comes right after it to not only continue the awareness aspect of it, but to spark, okay, where do we go? What's the direction after this?
The WNBA has been outspoken since they entered the bubble in Florida. Today they postponed their slate of games, and the players participated in what they called a media blackout. Representatives from several teams spoke with ESPN in the bubble, clarifying their purpose of sitting out.
It's important to note that this is not a strike. This is not a boycott. This is affirmatively a day of reflection, a day of informed action and mobilization.
We want to make sure that in addition to having the passion and the voices out there, we're strategic and we're intentional about how we move forward.
So these protests have been expanded to college football, with some teams not practicing today. Georgia Tech did go. Senior defensive back Jalen Askew was very open about his struggles in America. He said he worries about his family when he's away, when he's at practice.
It really do a toll on me, being a black man, just having to come to practice every day and just thinking, you know, when is it going to be over? When is the next shooting? You know, it's like being in a nightmare that you can't wake up from and you just want to walk away from, but you can't. And everything's just happening. It's like it's new to some people, but it's something that a lot of African-American people has been going through since little kids.
The NHL also postponed its playoff games tonight, and other protests continue to happen around sports. Players are making it clear that they want to be part of it. Sports has been an avenue for change, and that is how it is being framed and positioned right now by the NBA and other leagues. We'll take a break. We're back right after this.
Disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscasts not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money, or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscast not enough for you? Get even more at
If you missed it just a few minutes ago, we got the 11 p.m. advisory in on Laura, and Laura is no longer a tropical storm, but it is a tropical depression, and we will have to continue tracking the remnants of that storm as it moves from Arkansas into western Tennessee through Kentucky and then into Virginia. And on that track, we're going to see our rain chances increasing late Friday into Saturday. And there's also the potential for some storms. Some of those could turn strong, especially Saturday morning. And then the rain chances actually go down later in the afternoon on Saturday. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're still going to have a lot of tropical moisture in place. That'll give us about a 40% chance for scattered showers, mainly in the afternoon and evenings on those days. And then Thursday, it goes down to 30%.
All right, that's it for us. Thank you for watching us tonight. We appreciate it. We will see you tomorrow night right here on the Big 36. It is where news is king. See you tomorrow.
Truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is fake.
We just bought 20 dust masks for $97. Are you doing this to help people or are you doing this to make money or both?
Both. Take this email sent to the Verify team. Is it safe to have your house cleaned by outside workers? The best practice is to limit guests to emergencies only.
We know things are changing every day, but we're here with you. Continuous COVID-19 coverage during prime time. We're committed to giving you facts, not fear. On 11 Alive News Primetime, weeknights from 8 to 11 on WATF.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today at noon on 11 Alive.
We are seeing that lack of smell or altered taste can be a symptom.
We answer your coronavirus-related medical questions. Because 11 Alive is where Atlanta speaks.
Televised newscast not enough for you? Get even more at 11 Alive's YouTube channel, where you'll find uncut interviews, extended body cam footage, live streams of Atlanta's biggest trials, and more. Subscribe to 11 Alive today.
In times of great uncertainty, some things become more clear. The things we take for granted, the people we depend on daily. Here at 11 Alive, we'd like to say thank you. First responders, medical staff, sanitation workers, truck drivers, postal workers, and every brave Georgian doing their part to make a difference. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate all that you do.
Let's start with a viral message going around. Quote, vast majority of people who died had ibuprofen Advil in their system. This message is